42 days to the polls, and as we campaign for peace, Odododiodio was mired in violence over the weekend. And as a result, the NPP parliamentary candidate at that constituency, Nilante Bannerman, is accusing a member of parliament for the area, Nilante Vanderpoy, of masterminding the incident which took place there over the weekend. Police have launched investigations into the violence at Jamestown between supporters of the opposition NDC and the governing NPP over the weekend. In a video that has gone viral on social media, supporters of the two main parties were seen hurling stones at each other. Kweku Asante was in Jamestown and came through with this report.
More than 10 persons sustained various degrees of injuries, some with cuts to their head, arm and abdomen, whilst others sustained bullet wounds. Videos shared on social media show NDC and NPP supporters trading stones, bottles, and occasionally gunfire. In the videos, some persons wearing NDC shirts and paraphernalia are seen vandalizing items in a one-story entertainment center said to be the base for the NPP. TV sets and other items were destroyed in the vandalism. The NDC and NPP are accusing each other of starting the fight.
You're live on JoyNews today. Now, we have gathered that Nilante Vanderpoy has been invited by the police for questioning. Now, prior to the incident, Odododiodio had already been earmarked by the police as being prone to violence. It has 50 different flashpoints there alone. Colonel retired Festus Abwaje is of the view that the agency should keep a close eye on that place.
Controlled by the NDC. Should the NDC now say because they are provoked by the presence of their opponent in their area, they're going to use firearms? So the bottom line is that the conduct of political parties in this country is reprehensible, cannot be justified. And it's very sad when you have party executives coming to explain that NDC started or NPP started. It shouldn't have happened.
And as we inch closer to the December 7th poll, this year the campaigning has taken a different twist because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so a lot of these, the parties, the two major parties, are using these walks as a means of campaigning and making their presence felt within the constituencies. Odododiodio, for instance, is a closely knit community. What would be your advice going forward as far as political activity is concerned, because they have to devise means of carrying out their messages? We cannot hold huge rallies anymore. And so these are the strategies deployed by the parties. Going forward, what will be your advice on how such political activity should be handled?
There's nothing wrong with a peace march, even if it wasn't for COVID. Anybody who wanted, as part of its political campaign strategy, to undertake a peace walk or health walk or whatever it is, it's a political right or civil right. Nobody can deny any party that, you know. So the question probably should not be what we should be doing. You see what I mean? The bottom line is that political parties are the ones behind these kinds of activities. They are the ones who condone the impunity. For instance, it was on 1st September, the last time that anything happened at Odododiodio or that Jamestown police station, when the MP was assaulted. Yeah. What has been the outcome? For all you know, some influential people, through telephone calls or other means, have prevailed upon the police not to act. You see, so if the police cannot act because its hands are tied, what else do we expect, the police to do? But having said that, as far as the police is concerned, and given the premise that you use for this segment, that if you map out flashpoints, that is not the end of itself. What measures are you going to put in place to ensure that you contain any incidents of violence? I have suggested that the police could have scaled up the protection that they were affording according to the NDC match. But be as it may, this is a case study. And I think going forward, all political party activities of this nature must have adequate police protection to ensure that the surge in violence is contained at the lowest possible level.
Now addressing the media today, Mr. Bannerman, who is the NPP's parliamentary candidate for the area, said his opponent has been fomenting violence since entering the political scene at Odododiodio 16 years ago.
We are, however, not the least surprised by these acts of violence, considering the fact that in 2016, after a successful campaign launch at the famous Bukom Square, this same MP led thugs to go on a vandalization spree in the constituency on the back of yet another successful work in honor of the memory of our youth organizer, the late William Waters Rasbustego. On Saturday, the MP and his boys came running riot again without any provocation. It therefore goes without saying that these happenings in the constituency are explicitly orchestrated by the incumbent MP, whose persona and character depicts violence. This was the same person who, as the NDC parliamentary candidate in 2004, was cited for electoral fraud and violence and was injuncted from contesting that year's elections. The constituency from then on experienced peaceful electioneering campaigns and elections until he resurfaced in 2012 to contest the NDC primaries, which again was characterized by violence he masterminded. The lead up to that year's election and the events before, during and after the 2016 elections is still fresh on the minds of people. Madame Esla Usue Kufu, Abu Jinapo, the late Jacob Echebilamte, and my good self have been victims of his thuggery.
Still on the subject of violence, Executive Director at the Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh, says vigilantism still persists in the country because a law alone will not be enough to resolve the issues. Prof. Prempeh believes the solutions are more political than legal. He spoke in a yet-to-be-aired interview on Joy Prime's Current Affairs show, On the Record.
Election-related conflicts have really degenerated into, just widespread, large-scale killings, and conflict, sometimes close to civil conflict, civil war in many other countries. And I think we should not take our luck for granted. There is really nothing about us that makes us different from Cote d'Ivoire or Kenya, and so I think it's something that we need to seriously manage. The underlying factors are there. But then on top of it are other things we ourselves, but the way we have managed or mismanaged our politics have also introduced, which is this problem of vigilantes. Is the vigilantism problem a problem of inadequate law? I don't think so, right? So whatever it is, whatever violence, whatever threats of violence that are perpetrated by so-called vigilantes already offend existing law, right? So what is different is the political or partisan nature of the targeting. So I'm not opposed to saying that, for example, if you perpetrate violence on a person merely by virtue of their political identity or their party identity, we aggravate the offense and therefore you get a severer sanction.
Also in the interview, Prof. Prempeh said the opposition NDC should be clear on what kind of jobs it's proposed the big push would create.
Definitely, we have huge job deficits in the economy, right? But what's a job? It's a job, an employment, or because each time you put a certain amount of money into something, you can create a job, but the job, after the project is over, the job vanishes, right? So what kind of jobs are they talking about? Are they talking about paid, sustainable employment, or a job that is, so if I hire you to build me a small gutter in the front of my house, to the extent that we have a market transaction, it's a job, I've created a job there. But if after the duration of that project, the gutter is built, and then there's, that's the source of your income dries up, the problems will re-emerge. You throw money at it, it solves it for a time being, and then it re-emerges.